right, we made it to Land's End. As you can see in the background, we're here in Cabo. So we just beat the snot out of our Gen 3 all the way from the U.S. border down here to Cabo San Lucas. And overall, we are very impressed with the truck. It's an incredible truck. We took mostly bone stock truck all the way down the peninsula, and it performed very, very well. So before I dive into a little more, just talk about what we did do to the truck. We threw on some Icon Alloy Pros. They're pretty neat. They keep the tires seated on the bead, make it impossible to fall off, similar to a bead lock, but they're dot legal and easy to install. And then we threw on some Gladiator 37s and SVC tie rods, SVC leveling kit, and their intercooler. Yes, intercooler. Yeah, sorry guys. So none of that stuff was necessary. They threw that on for the most part to want to see if it was compatible, because it was Gen stuff, Gen 2 equipment. So they threw it on to see if it would work with the Gen 3. So for the most part, we're talking a bone stock truck. You can order a Gen 3 with 37s, and that's what we had on the truck. I actually think that the leveling kit is not needed. You can probably run 37s without it. We did not experience any rubbing, and we fully compressed the suspension, as you can see from the other clips, aired it out, everything. Never full lock, turning over bumps, no rubbing. So Ford did a great job of making a nice round clearance to wheel well, so you're not going to be rubbing 37s. So we thought that was really neat. The truck just worked. I mean, it was a stock truck. I'm part of the trail sport team, so I can't afford to be cruising around at slow speeds. And we flogged it, and it soaked it all up. So overall, just it's a great platform. The 4-link seems, I'm sorry, actually technically 5-link rear suspension performs really well. Keeps the truck planted. In the turns, it just feels so much more in control. And overall, very happy with it. They made some nice adjustments. I think it makes more power than the Gen 2. It feels like it has more power. On social media, we've seen a couple posts come in that the guys that dynoed them are picking up somewhere like 70 to 80 foot-pounds of torque more and another 50 plus horsepower. So, that's not confirmed, but my butt dyno is telling me that it feels like that is the case.
You ready? Ready? 1, 2, 3!
So the next piece I want to cover is the live valve shocks. So there are a few things we learned on this trip. First, it's pretty neat. Ford gives you the controllability for 3 different settings of the shock valves. So when we're off-roading, we're always putting the truck into Baja mode. That's the mode you want to be in. It turns off your ABS sensors, so if you need to lock it up, it really digs into the dirt. This is something, you don't want that on pavement, but off-road, you don't want ABS functioning. It does some other things with the shift points, the throttle control, all good things you want while you're off-roading. But it also puts your shocks into Baja mode setting. And the shocks you can adjust individually with the shock button on the Gen 3. You have 3 settings. You have normal, sport, and Baja mode. We found sport to actually be a much better setting for the shocks themselves. So the truck is in Baja mode, off-road mode, and then you change the shocks to sport mode. The Baja mode for us was just too harsh.
Yeah, when it goes off stuff, I just feel like it unloads.
Mm-hmm. It's fine over big whoops, soaks it up, all that. But for any kind of choppy stuff, or if you come over a random rock or a berm that just kind of, I don't know, best way I can describe it is kind of sneaks up on the truck if you're going 60 miles an hour and all of a sudden you just do like that. The truck just is too harsh when it does that. But you put it into sport mode, seems to be just right, softens up the suspension enough to where you get a nice Cadillac ride as you're driving down the trail, and still has enough dampening to control the truck if you hit something big. So that's one thing we discovered and we were most surprised about with the truck. And I don't really think you even need a leveling kit to run 37s. We experienced no rubbing. at all. And we aired the truck out, fully compressed the suspension, had to make full lock turns over bumps, did not rub once. So it's probably not even necessary. So things going forward that I would probably add or change, or I'm looking in the near future to hopefully find a solution, would be the rear coil spring. It is not HD enough for my needs, doesn't have enough carrying capacity for my needs. As someone who is a part of the trail support team, I need to carry a couple hundred pounds of gear. I'm carrying tools, 2 spares, fuel, so somewhere between 400 and 500 pounds. I packed light on this trip. I only carried 1 spare and did not carry the usual spare parts I have or tools, so I probably only had about 200, 250 pounds over, loaded in the bed over what the truck would have stock. So not that much weight, and it was sitting a little low for my liking. I definitely want the rear end sitting a little higher. I've found over the 10 plus years of been off-roading the Raptors, they perform better if they're sit a little high in the rear, because if you come over a G-out or a big bump or a washout, if it's sitting higher, that gives more time for the shock to slow the rear end down before it bottoms out. And so we found the rear end bottoming out often with not a strong enough coil in the rear. So I'm really hoping for that to come. Overall, the platform, I'm excited on where this can go. It's so capable right now, and I'm excited to see what the folks over at Icon and SVC can come up with in the aftermarket to just push that performance level even further. Practically speaking, it's getting to the point where it's going to be almost too fast to not have a cage, because these trucks are so capable and so fast. Ford's supposed to be coming out with the Raptor R next year. It's 750 horsepower. I mean, as someone who puts these kind of runs together to come down here to Mexico, I'm a little worried, because some of these guys, if they have 750 horsepower plus all this suspension, they can get themselves into trouble. So we'll see, but also at the same time, we'll see the levels of performance continue to improve and those limits being pushed. So in closing, I would say that Gen 3 is a nice step up in performance over the Gen 2. It's not to say that Gen 2 is not an incredible truck. I loved my Gen 2, just like I loved my Gen 1 when I had that. But Ford is definitely continuing to improve performance of the Raptor, and I think anybody who buys a Gen 3 is going to be very happy with it. And you can essentially, if you want to come out with us, all you need to do, in a stock form, it's ready to go. All you need to do is add a second spare, a radio, a high 50-watt radio, and a Lawrence navigation, and you're good to go and have fun down in Baja. So I don't know too many other trucks out there that can do that. So kudos to Ford, and we'll be sure to keep you guys updated on how the truck performs as we use it in the coming years. It's going to rack up a lot of hard off-road miles very quickly, so we'll be sure to keep you guys updated. All right, have a good one, guys.